Angles. Holding an angle is basically the act of keeping your gun trained on a particular line of sight, either until someone sticks their head around the corner and you get a clean one tap, or you're needed elsewhere and you deem it safe to move away. This is holding an angle. This is also holding an angle. And you guessed it, this is holding an angle. Well, really that's spawn peeking, but we are holding an angle here. Holding angles is actually the #1 cause of death in Siege. Fact. And I don't mean the #1 cause of death for the person who's going to peek around the corner and you're going to get a clean one tap on. I mean it's the #1 cause of death for you. Because it doesn't matter whether you're looking at that angle for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, as soon as you look away, some f***er's gonna come around the corner and cleanly headshot you through 3 walls. The rules! When can you hold angles? Anytime you're playing Siege and you're on the defending team, you can hold an angle. In fact, you should be holding angles. This is your job as a defender to ensure that the attackers don't get any ground into getting into the objective. You and your team should be holding angles f***ing everywhere. And in theory, as long as nothing goes wrong, you're gonna get all the kills. When else can you hold angles? If you're an attacker covering a flank whilst your team are doing important work ahead of you. If you're an attacker who is being peeked at by a defender and you want to teach them a lesson. If you're an attacker with control of the objective and you want to prevent a retake. These are all good times for attackers to be holding angles, and no one really has a right to get mad at them for it. When can't you hold angles? When you're the last attacker left in a casual game, there are 2 or more minutes left on the clock and you're in a 1v4. That's when you shouldn't hold angles. Unfortunately, I know you're all just going to do this anyway, so I honestly don't know why I'm wasting my time. How do you make your angles better? Well, option #1 is to strengthen your angle. This is things like making your angle tighter, so that it's harder for enemies to see you. Sit further back from the angle so that when they do see you, your head is a smaller target for them. And use an ACOG so that you have a clearer view of what's going on through the angle. Making your angle tighter is all about positioning. It's about holding your angle on a doorway from around a corner instead of face on, and it's about putting cover between you and the person on the other end of your angle. Generally, the less you can see down your angle, the less they're going to be able to see of you. Your advantage here though is that you're waiting for them to move into your line of sights, and they have to have reactions fast enough to spot you, aim at you, and shoot before you pull the trigger. Sitting further back is a very simple way to make your angles better. All this is going to do is make you a smaller target for your enemy when they spot you. This does mean that they're going to be a smaller target for you, but again the difference is that you are expecting them and waiting for them to come into your line of fire. And particularly when you're holding a really tight angle, using an ACOG is going to make it so much easier for you to see through the angle, see the enemy you're trying to deal with, and put them down. As well as improving the angle itself, you also want to become more effective whilst you're holding angles. So #1, listen. Sound is really important in this game, and if you're holding an angle and you think that someone is going to be coming from a certain direction, you can confirm your suspicions just by listening for them coming. When you get really good at this, you should be able to visualize where the person is in relation to the angle you're holding, and this will help you be ready for them. The second way to become more effective is to watch. Now I know this sounds stupid because the whole point of holding the angle is to watch, but you need to be paying close attention to what is actually going on. If you see the person's shadow and it doesn't look like they're going to stop moving, then you're in the perfect position to start pre-firing them as they come around the corner. Failing that, the person's shadow and the sound they're making is going to build you up perfectly to know exactly when they're coming through the door, and you should be able to get an easy kill. The other things you can do are enlist your dead teammates. If you've got a teammate who is dead, or even if they're a defender on site and they've got nothing else to do, get them on cameras, get them on a drone. And if you've got good communications with the person watching the camera for you, you shouldn't have a problem taking that enemy out. And finally, we also have gadgets. Now there are quite a few attacker and defender gadgets that are going to help you out when you're holding angles. For instance, Nomad and Gridlock, the 2 newest attackers, are perfect for holding angles because their gadgets are a dead giveaway of when people are coming. Nomad in particular is great because she basically guarantees you a kill if her air jab throws a defender towards your line of sight. For defenders, you've got Capcan, you've got Legion, you've got Ella. All 3 are proximity-based traps. that are going to be a dead giveaway for when enemies are pushing through towards your line of sight. On top of that, defenders have barbed wire and deployable shields, which are both things that are going to give you a slight upper hand if someone is pushing through, say, a doorway and have to vault the shield or push through the wire. It's just going to make your job that much easier. So think about what primary and secondary gadgets you can use to give yourself an easier time whilst you're holding angles. How to counter angles. If you know that someone is holding an angle on a route that you're trying to get through, how do you peek around the corner and kill them first? The simple answer is that you don't. Don't ever try this, unless you have absolutely no alternative. What you should be doing instead is considering a different route to get around and potentially pull off a flank on that person, or just deal with a different member of their team and leave that person holding the angle wasting their time. You can also consider vertical play. Say you know where somebody is and they're holding an angle on you. Can you get underneath them and throw a C4 at the floor? Or are you playing Book? Can you open up beneath that person and kill them first? Some operators are also going to have an easier time clearing people off angles. This mostly applies to attackers like Ying and Dokkaebi, or anybody else who has frags or flashbangs. If you can kill, blind, or distract the person holding an angle on you, you can risk pushing through the angle to a safer place and trying to get the frag on them. If there is absolutely no alternative option, and you have to push the angle that you know someone is watching, coordinate with teammates. Go at the same time and hope that one of you gets the refrag, or get your teammate to come a different route so that the person has to deal with both of you. And remember, if you're completely stuck, if all else fails, you can always play Clash.
No! God, please, no!